Dude, WTF.
Oh, man. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Dude, what the fuck?
What the fuck, man?
What the fuck?
Come on, man.
Dude.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Come on, man. What the
WTF,
fuck?
dude?
What the fuck, man?
Get in here. What the?
Holy shit, what the fuck?
WTF, man.
Dude, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck? What the fuck?
What the fuck? Oh my god. What the fuck? WTF.
Well, welcome to the Monday edition of WTF. I'm Joe Joseph. We've got Jules, we've got Ken, and Popeye will show up some point in time today. WTF to that. Anyway, guys, how's things going?
Great.
That's wonderful. Great.
Great for Monday.
Ken, I could just feel the energy right now coming from you, Ken. This is going to be a good night. I can feel it. Speaking of WTF, I got a WTF. I got to throw it out to Matt Drudge. Matt Drudge, what the hell are you thinking, man? Newt on top? Really? Are you serious? Come on.
It's the way Matt likes it, with Newt on top.
Come on, Newt on top? Man, you couldn't pick somebody else like Ron Paul. I mean, hell, man, they gave him a whopping 89 seconds on this last debate. WTF to that? Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. He's the only consistent guy that did anything. And last I remember, Newt was he was a naughty boy. He's a naughty boy that got didn't he have to step down from the speakership, or he lost? I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know he was a bad boy, and he's a neocon to boot. So I have a serious problem with this. You know, Herman Cain first, now Newt Gingrich, and folks, WTF to this. Could you imagine a president with Newt as the first name?
Do you remember, Joe, that he called his whole little thing back in the 90s when they broke away from the government, when they did their little government shutdown thing? He called his whole thing the Newt World Order.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. I'm sick. I'm sick to death. I can't take it. Newt Gingrich leading the poll.
Wow.
Probably smoking a poll is what he's really doing, along with every other freaking elitist that gets off on little boys and homosexuality.
That will change very shortly.
I'm just saying.
Just wait a week.
Just saying, what the hell did that? WTH or F or whatever you want to call it.
How about WTF with the Citadel, Joe? WTF. Remember I said the other day you watch more schools are going to come out now with the whole, we had abuse at our school. Now the Citadel. Oh,
it's a giant queer gangbang going on all over the place, whether it be the Citadel or hell, I mean, there's footage, dudes, of this like extravaganza out in San Francisco where they're doing like live gay sex acts in the street. In the street, like a parade, like a freaking festival. You know? Where you got like people with their freaking their wieners tied up and getting whipped with the cat o' nine tails. That's what this country's coming to, man. Are you kidding me? I don't know. Jules, come on, help me out here.
It's a destruction of morals. It's not really about homosexuality. They use that as an excuse, like, oh, you're anti-gay rights or anything like. No, what it is they're using that amongst other things, like making girls promiscuous and stuff, to bring down the society and bring about the fall of society. So you can tell where society is, like on a level with humanity and everything, by how the people act. And look how we acted 200 years ago as a society compared to what we do now. We are going down the hill. We're not going up. We're going down.
Well, I'll tell you, focusing on sex and buying things. I mean, those are all egocentric. And by being egocentric, we're not worrying about each other and we're not worrying what's going on around us. We're worrying about ourselves. So that really is kind of where we're going down the tubes. And it's because of all these external influences.
You're right. You want me to throw something out there that's really going to give you a WTF? I'll play devil's advocate for a second. I'm gonna play my good buddy Mike Powers for a second. But first we know that they use that to divide, and we know they use race to divide. But could it be that the annihilation or the reduction of the Anglo-American that sector of the population? If you notice, that population is dwindling; it's going down. How many? I wonder if there's a statistic out there of gay white people to gay black people or gay Hispanic people. Are there more of one to the other? And does that directly affect population of either race? And furthermore, could that be Agenda 21? Ooh.
Well, they put
I don't
hormones
think
in
so.
water. I'm not saying that people aren't born gay. I mean that anybody that argues that you choose to be gay is an idiot. But I think that especially when children are young, or if they're in the womb and they're being exposed to some of these hormones, maybe that's why you have kids that maybe they feel they're one way, but I'm trapped in I'm a boy trapped in a girl's body or something. Maybe that would with all the, I'm not saying this is the reason. I'm just saying perhaps this could explain why there's such a rise in that, because of all the hormones and everything that women are exposed to when the child's being born. During the 9 months in the womb. Not everybody is great to their kids. Who was telling me the other day that they know someone that she's pregnant. I forget who this was. She's pregnant and she waited too long before to decide if she was going to keep the baby or not. And now she decided, well, I don't want to keep the baby. And now she has no choice. She has to keep it. And the whole time she's been smoking and drinking while she's been pregnant. So that kid and doing hardcore drugs. So that kid is done. That kid is done. It doesn't even have a chance coming out of the womb. So besides the stuff that a dumb mother or a bad pregnant woman, whatever you want to call them, would give the child, or intake herself, therefore affecting the child, what about the stuff that you don't know? Or an uneducated mother doesn't, don't drink the fluoride. God knows what that stuff does. God knows what all these, whatever.
Aluminum and barium and shit like that. I mean, yeah, you're right.
Exactly. So no one, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to say that, that's creating gay people, because that'd be an ignorant statement. I'm just saying,
no, but that's
who
awesome,
knows?
Dude, I'm sorry. What a good remark for a Monday night.
Well, it is. It would be an idiotic statement to say that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I wonder if some of the effects where you're seeing that boys are more feminine nowadays, and there's already a direct correlation with the BPA and the plastics and everything else. So right from birth, these kids nowadays are getting hit with this stuff. By the time they're 15, 16 years old, no wonder kids are so screwed up. Look at girls. Why do you think girls develop?
Else, though, dude. You know the whole onset of soy milk? There's studies that show that soy milk, if young boys drink a lot of soy milk or any soy product, it actually mimics estrogen.
It does.
And that has some really detrimental side effects to their development,
The thing is, though,
including feminization.
I think across the board, all of our hormones are getting messed up. Look at the frogs. And you see the frogs are changing sexes. And that was already a couple years ago. They were finding effeminated male frogs, and they said it was from all the hormones from the birth control pills that were ending up in the waterways. The hormones they're putting in the chicken and the beef, the BPA that's in the baby bottles. I don't know. Did that ever get taken out of the baby bottles? It's in your cans, inside all cans of food. I think it's messing up everybody's
hormones. That's what I'm saying. Right from the start,
and at some point, it's going to affect everybody's fertility, and isn't that the point, right? So we can't.
Well, yeah, that's where it all dovetails dovetails back to this whole depopulation agenda.
Right.
Not only are they killing people off with diseases and war and everything else, and, crap in the food, but they're also trying to make us sterile so we can't keep reproducing.
Hey, I was going to say, the one point I'd like to make is that I have lots of gay friends, and I love gay people.
Well, there's nothing wrong with somebody just because
there is nothing wrong.
I mean, anybody that thinks just because someone's gay they're evil. That's retarded. It's like that.
That's right. Well, folks, don't go away. It's our first break, and I'm talking to you like a bad 70s game show host, just to go along with this music. So sit tight, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WTF here on the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Okay, quick thought. Here we go. And I want an instant response to this. Jules, first song that came to mind when you heard that.
Oh, it was something by Karen Carpenter.
That's exactly what I thought. Two birds suddenly appear. I was like, oh my God.
Bringing back flashbacks from my childhood. But I like the music.
Joe got brought back to his high school prom when he got dumped.
I'll tell you, man, those were the days.
It brought you back, didn't it?
It did, but unfortunately, that was about, 20 years before my time. I graduated in 1993.
Oh, you guys are youngsters.
Yeah.
Jeez, puppies.
I know. You graduated in
graduating in 93 makes you really young, considering there's people running around with guns in the military that, were born in, like, the 90s. So
yeah, exactly right, dude. They were, like, born in 93.
When people tell me, man, I was born in, like 1997, I'm like, oh, my God, I was already out of high school.
Shoot me. Shoot me already.
97, I couldn't remember high school.
Well, I mean, Ken, you went to school in, like, the 1850s, so I don't expect you to remember it.
Here we go.
Okay, well, if that's the case, right? If that's the case, and Ken, you went to high school in the 1850s, then you should be able to answer some of these questions that I have. And this, folks... Oh,
are you going to break out the
8th grade exam?
The 8th grade exam? Dude, I bet you none of us could pass that thing right now.
I know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But I'm gonna go.
They gave that 8th grade exam to college kids, and they couldn't pass it either.
Exactly. Name the parts of speech and define those that have no modifications.
WTF.
Let's see. Define case. Illustrate each case. What?
Back in the 1800s, the educational system was probably 1,000 times better than what we have today.
That people don't realize that, Ken.
Yeah, well, we got away from teaching and got into throwing money at it.
Well, that's because the government put its hands involved into teaching, and then as soon as the government, I love when people are like, Ron Paul's a schmuck because he wants to get rid of the Department of Education. Deregulation of such industries has led to our problems. While I do agree that deregulating certain things did lead to problems, the Department of Education actually became, or education became much worse when the Department of Education was created and when the government took over.
Yeah, you know why they took over is because they didn't want some guy out in the middle of Nebraska or North or South Dakota or Colorado being smarter than some schmuck who came from Penn State.
Well, no. Rockefeller The and it's not just David Rockefeller. It's the whole family.
Look up.
The Rockefeller Foundation controls the Department of Education, and they like the NJ or whatever it is. All those
the Guggenheim Foundation, all the endowments,
different foundations. I can't even remember all the names, but they all fund through the Department of Education. And what did Rockefeller say? What's he quoted as saying in his biography? Here's a WTF. When you hear this. I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
Yes, worker bees.
And look at what we have now. I mean, Jules, you have children.
Yeah.
What would you categorize the school system today as opposed to when you were a child? I mean, how different is it? I mean, you can see the juxtaposition between the two. And I'm not saying it was great when we were kids, but, I mean, just the drastic difference from then till now. What do you see with your kids?
Yeah, I mean, right now, they're just teaching them to learn to the state standards. You know, learn how to take the multiple choice exam, and they're not teaching them how to think independently. I mean, at least when I was in school in the 80s, they taught us to think outside the box, you know, read this and come up with your own interpretation, and everyone had their own interpretation of, I was really into literature. That's what I did. And, I mean, creative writing English classes. I mean, I don't even know if they do that anymore. You know, I saw an article not too long ago where there were some schools that they were looking at getting rid of teaching handwriting. They want to teach them keyboarding skills, not handwriting. And
right, like cursive
they're going to get rid of cursive. Yep.
They're getting rid of books now too. All books. They're putting everything on. Well, the students use iPads. It's much better for them. Yeah, and now you can also change the words that are in books electronically because it's much harder to screw with written history when it's in a book because you'd have to go erase 100 copies or 200 copies of that book.
The whole thing is, if you track words back from the 1700s, take certain words and track them from the 1700s to today, and you'll find out that the words' meanings have changed as you go on.
Oh, take them back to the Middle Ages. I studied Middle Age literature, and I mean, it's a whole different language, completely different language, but it's still English.
That's why people don't understand the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or anything, you know, the Magna Carta, any of this stuff, is because the way it was written then compared to the way people speak today, the meanings have totally changed, and the people are idiots.
I just posted
That's why Judge Bork scared the hell out of him, because when he was up for Supreme Court, and they asked him, well, how would you interpret the Constitution? He says, I'll interpret it in the language it was written in. He says, well, it was written in English. He says, no, you don't understand. I will interpret it according to 1776 English, which means that the definitions have changed. That's why they got rid of Judge Bork. They didn't want this guy in there because he knew the Constitution and what it meant.
I just posted
and they changed the meanings of the words.
I just posted an interview in the chat that Ed Griffin did with a guy by the name of Norman Dodd. Norman Dodd was like the Ken Starr of the 1950s, and his job was to investigate the endowments for corruption into how they corrupted and coerced people into rewriting the school books and everything else. And it was so bad, what they found was so bad that his assistant, who was a successful attorney at the time, went insane. She couldn't work again because she was just so sickened by what she found out in the investigation. And he died, I think, in 82. Fantastic, fantastic interview.
But see, they don't care about the kids' education. All they care about is how much money they can steal from the average working guy.
But it's more than money. To think that it's just money and it's just about money, it's not.
Well, it's money, power, and control.
But it's not even about they have all the power they want, and they have all the money. Oh, they do, because they own every head of state, everything. They have all the power and money they want. It's the control that they're after, because the control for them is like a drug. That feeling of, I can make things happen. That is such a drug to these people. It's disgusting. And you have to remember, these people aren't educated like you, Ken, or me, or Joe, or Jules. They don't sit back and, look at things through the glasses of humanity and say, well, Jesus, that guy's hurt over there. I should go help him. No. Wrong.
And what's even more funny, like Anti-Tyranny News in the chat room just pointed out, if they stop teaching handwriting in school, and especially cursive, Well, the original Constitution was written in cursive.
Right.
And they can't read that if they don't know how to write it or read it. So there's a big problem. And then once you do that, anybody can translate that, from cursive into anything they want, and they won't even know.
You know what, though? I really look at cursive as like right brain versus left brain. I mean, there's some creativity there. And by getting rid of that, I mean, it's an art form. It's artistic. Right. And that kind of kills a part of expression. You're not able to be creative now when you're expressing things. And Popeye, the one thing I wanted to mention is you're absolutely right, because they're trying to create you've seen that video, right? Over 3 or 4 generations now, they've completely brainwashed us and moved us into this, society of slaves that know how to take direction.
I agree.
And with that, the cheesy bumper music comes in, and we have to go to break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have to admit, some of these bumper tunes are starting to grow on me. This one reminds me of a James Bond movie. Not really anyone in particular, just all of them, because it's got that same, what do you call it?
Trumpets?
Yeah, trumpet, or what do they call those instruments? What do they call that section of instruments, trumpets and tubas and all that?
Horns.
You have an orchestra? Or the horn?
Brass section.
The horn section. That's what I was looking for. Or the brass section, whatever you want to call it. I like I like when they use trumpets and saxophones and stuff, instruments in music. I can't stand this electronic crap that they come out with now, and auto-tunes. Ugh.
Well, here's one for you from the 50s, Popeye. You should love this one.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man.
That's some classic stuff right there.
Yes,
you want to hear something interesting? Here's an interesting tidbit of history. The guy the artist and creator of Popeye, he died, and I guess somebody bought his house or whatever, and years later they were digging through the basement, which was his original shop, which is where Popeye, the cartoon character, was created. He has a little workshop down there. And they found, original, what are they called, lithographs or whatever? The still.
Yeah, the original sketches.
Yeah, well, they found these that they made on the the plastic sheets, whatever they were called, or cellophane, or whatever it was made out of. I don't remember the exact term or what it was made out of. But they found these things, and they were from when the cartoon was first created. And some of them dated. Some of them were obviously they were all original, but he had just thrown his signature on a few of them, and they just were sitting buried in this box, and they happened to open this box that was in the basement. It had come with the house. No one had ever really gone through it, and when they were cleaning the basement out, they found this stuff. I mean, how much they sold it, obviously.
They were probably worth a fortune,
but they were probably able to pay the house off with what was in that box.
With one of them.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. First thing I would have done was walk right over to the mortgage company. I would have walked right up to their headquarters, knock on the door. Yes, I'd like to pay off my mortgage. How much is the principal? Because that's the key thing right there.
Yeah.
You pay off what you owe in the principal. That really is a bite in the rear end, because then they don't make any interest on it. So
they get mad.
Oh, yeah, they get real mad. They don't like that. They try to, you don't have to pay it off. Think about it. No, really, I've thought about it. I want nothing to do with your loan. Here you go.
Yeah, it's,
speaking of schools, I want to, I got to cut you off for a second, Ken, because I want to bring in a guest that we brought on during the break, and I don't want to get too far past what we were talking about last segment. When we were talking about schools, my good friend and good friend of the entire radio network over here at Orion, and truther, activist.
Except Ken.
Except for Ken. And fellow talk radio host, Bob Tuskin.
Bobby Bag of Donuts in the hizzy.
And I think Bobby wants to give us his bag of donuts on the educational system. So go ahead, Bobby Bag of Donuts.
Please don't talk about Jerry Curl anymore.
I'm a little offended that you bring that up, Ken, but I'll try to continue.
Well, you can handle it. You are Bob Tuskin.
That's right. After all, I'm Bob Tuskin. Anyways, no, I heard your fruitful conversation on the education system, aka indoctrination system. And, of course, there's a lot of different directions you could take this. We can look at the Prussian education system, Charlotte Iserbyth and others that I've looked into do a good job of exposing how this works. We can look at the bells between classes, very similar to a Pavlovian technique. So they are conditioning people like animals in our education system today, not equipping them with, and this is what I wanted to add to the conversation, the trivium and critical thinking and these skills that the powers that shouldn't be amongst themselves, they teach this in the school. So here's the thing that I wanted to relay, is that while the useless eaters are receiving these pitiful educations, the powers that shouldn't be of the more the bourgeoisie of our planet, they're learning all about critical thinking and trivium and all these skills, the 7 liberal arts. But the useless eaters, well, if you were to ask them what the 7 civil arts are, they would tell you they have no clue whatsoever. So it's no surprise that the lamestream media is able to manipulate them.
No, Bobby, what they would tell you? They would say, "You mean the seven deadly words you're not allowed to say on TV? I've heard that joke. I could tell you the 7 dirty words. Ha 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 ha." But they couldn't tell you anything like of any value. So, just goes to show you how dumbed down our culture is.
I'm assuming that you're talking about art, language, music, etc.
Yeah, well, the 7 liberal arts, okay? If you break it down, they include geometry, physics. Let me get the list here, so I don't butcher it, because I'm not the best at these things. But we have the trivium, and then the quadrivium, and the 2 of those combined make the 7 liberal arts. So the trivium is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And the quadrivium, which is the one I need help with, give me a second here. Quadrivium, if I can look it up. Let's go to trivium, education, live radio, folks. Trivium, and you can follow along with me here. Education.
Well, aren't you going to have Jan Irvin on tomorrow to be talking about this?
He's going to be guest hosting, or co-hosting, I should say, with me. The quadrivium is mathematics, geometry, music, and astronomy. So there you go. There's the 7 liberal arts.
And check out Bob's show tomorrow. I know, I'm giving it a plug now. Make sure you listen to Bob's show tomorrow.
It's going to be on the Holocaust.
Yeah, but he's a smart guy, and they can check out Jan Irvin.
Jan's, who cares?
And then they can check out his website and learn more. So, I mean,
I'm Bob Tuskin. I'll be the host, okay?
That's what I would do. Uh-oh. Is that, what's bigger, your afro or your ego? What's bigger?
Depends who I'm in front of at the moment. But it's a fascinating twist to this all that we can equip ourselves with. See, here's the thing with the internet and with us being able to share this information with WTF and all the great shows like Joe's and Popeye's and Ken's and even my own. The fact of the matter is, we can learn these skills that they've been keeping from us, and we should learn these skills. Just because you're a truther or you're aware doesn't mean that you're completely equipped with all these skills. So I'm always refreshing, I'm always learning, and I would encourage all of our listeners to do the same as a prerequisite to any of the other things that we face on our trip down the rabbit hole Sundays on Orion Talk Radio Network.
Nice. That was fantastic. I don't know about you guys, but I hated geometry. It was absolutely hell on earth.
Geometry was the one that I liked. The algebra and the other ones I couldn't stand. But for some reason, I could grasp geometry, and fractal geometry is one of the most fascinating subject matters that I think I've ever looked into.
I think I
would
know about
fractals.
Grass, bro.
Is that because I'm tripping too much on entheogens that I'm into fractals, Joe?
Could be, my friend, could be. Like I said, I think I would rather rearrange my sock drawer and then spend the next day watching grass grow.
Yeah, but honestly, it's some of the. I know it sounds boring. For beginners, there's a movie out there called Fractals: The Hidden Dimensions. You can start with that.
I'm not saying it's not fascinating. I'm just saying that...
Dude, some of these patterns that happen in nature, Joe, when you look at them on like a super microscopic level, and the deeper you look and the more and more you look, you realize the pattern is actually just repeating itself over and over and over and over again.
I've had some WTF moments looking into fractals, Joe. It's like, what?
Hey, me too. And me too. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that...
I was also high on ayahuasca, but that's okay.
But that's all right. See, some people are left brain, some people are right brain. Some people are artistic, some people are mathematical. You know, it's just the way it is. My brain is not wired up to do that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, I was absolutely fascinated looking at like some of the works of like Marco Rodin and his Rodin coil. That right there is huge fractal geometry example, and they use it to make over unity generators, which is...
And all cell phones operate on a fractal principle. That's how they invented the antenna, from what I understand.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, our awesome music means that we're going to break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned for more intriguing conversation here on What the... We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. Actually,
when I first heard that, Popeye, the first thing that came to mind when I first heard that intro music was the original Batman show. Just the beginning of it was weird.
Their stuff was kind of cheesy back then, but at least there was effort put into it. You know, because they didn't have all the super special effects or music. So when it came to, or you know, like music effects and stuff. So when it came to music or movies, they actually had to put a little bit of effort into it. I mean, now by comparison, when you look at the special effects, you're like, God, that stuff was cheesy. But when I was a kid, you know, stuff on wires was woohoo. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, man. That was the cool stuff, and you had to use your imagination a little bit to make it seem like it was real. But now people don't even have to do that.
No, they use a computer and a synthesizer.
Yeah, it's how many times do you see in music, you know, the newest thing, and it's always got the same bass beat. And I forget what exactly it is, the beats per second or whatever. But they set it, you know, like a metronome. They set it to a certain beat, and then it's all these songs are set pretty much to that same beat, and then that's why they get stuck in your head and they're catchy. It's all done for a reason. I mean, there's so much more to it. I would have to do like an 18-hour show just on that topic alone to cover it. But you just go do the research, you know. And of course, I have to tell you, the only place you'll probably find the research is online, or maybe in a book that you found online, and you can order the book and read it. But, you know, the internet is a tool, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a place. It is not a physical place that bandits run around, and they, you know, this isn't the Wild West. I mean, according to them, they call the internet the Wild West. The internet is a tool, and it is what.
Well, it might be a tool, Popeye, but it's also filled with tools. So we have to understand.
Well, that too.
That was more. That point. This point here is more than just getting to throw that pun in. The fact of the matter is, it's a vacuum, and it sucks up all this fluff and junk and dilutes the little tokens of truth. And we have to realize that, and the powers that shouldn't be, they know this. That's why they've kept it on for so long, because it's so diluted with all the schmendricks pushing their fear porn and their distractions for those that want to continue to be apathetic, that they don't care that there's this small percentage of people whose Alexa ratings are surpassing the lamestream jerks like Chris Matthews. I mean, we're winning at the end of the day, but the powers that shouldn't be know that, well, the fact of the matter is the sheeple are going to be immersed in the BS and the minutia of it all. So it won't really bother them or it won't really affect them.
Well, look what they've done with television. That's probably one of the greatest teaching tools ever invented until the internet. And they turned it into entertainment. And now you look at the internet, and what have they done? They've turned it into entertainment. Facebook, MySpace, all of the online games, everything else. They don't want people to think.
Exactly. Great point, Ken. Same thing with the YouTube videos. What videos, if you go to the front page, what videos will you see? If you just go to youtube.com and go to the front page.
It's all garbage, bro.
They're garbage
Absolute
videos.
Garbage.
Exactly. You won't see anything that anybody of any intellectual ability put forth. I mean,
what was that one? It was a couple of weeks ago. Two old people trying to work their webcam, and it got like 50 bazillion hits.
Yeah, dude, it's the dumbest stuff. Yawning cute kitten, and it'll have like 18 million hits in a day and a half.
Yeah, and then you could show video of somebody committing a crime, somebody who is in office committing a crime, and you get 60 hits.
Dude, you could have video footage of like Barack Obama and Joe Biden gang raping somebody, and people would be like, I could really care less. But if it's
but if there's a cute little kitten involved yawning,
well, that's what you have to do. You have to put that in the title. Anytime you want your video to get a lot of hits, if it's about like fluoride or something, you have to title it. I swear to God, I've tested this. I've done it where I just uploaded a video and I completely named it something stupid that had nothing to do with the actual content of the video, and it got more hits that way. It's really sad that you have to do that. But see, that goes to show you that it's not some automated system that YouTube allows to run, and that the stuff that really does get seen or that's interesting to people gets put up there. No.
Well, Charlotte Iserby is right. It's the dumbing down of America.
Well, they're pushing it on them too, though, because they control what goes up on that front page now. It's not through any automated system. YouTube controls what's up there. So, of course, they want you to see some 18-year-old kid doing stupid stuff or making some stupid video talking about, conspiracy theorists, all you guys are stupid, Oh,
I got my head stuck in a toilet bowl, man.
The one thing that I see...
Shut up, Joe.
Hold on, guys. Go on, Jules.
One thing that I see about the internet is that it's akin to the Library of Alexandria. And the sad fact of the matter is that with everything being electronic, things can disappear. And what say we had, an EMP or whatever, whether it be from a nuclear explosion or the sun or whatever, all that information could be lost again, just like it was originally. And I mean, think about all of the mind share that's out there and all of the knowledge that we put in digital format that someday is just going to vanish.
Yep.
Well, that's why I tell people all the time. I say it all the time and time and time and time again.
Become scribes and write stuff down?
Well,
exactly.
Write stuff down, but buy books, man. While they're still out there, use the internet, buy books.
One of the best places I found here in town, they've got a used bookstore.
Yeah.
And I can go to the library.
Those places are awesome.
Oh, yeah, because I've gone to the library and said, have you got a copy of this book? Oh, no, we don't have it. I go to the used bookstore. There's 6 copies up there.
We have a guy here that...
There's so much information out there in old books that is so relevant to today.
And estate sales. Estate sales. Find them in estate sales because, like in our case, I got 1,500 books at an estate sale for like $300.
What'd you do with them all? Oh my God!
I have them all. I have some of them. Some of them I donated. Some I gave. Yeah, I mean, it all depends. Like a lot of it, some of it was crap, but you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that I mean, like manuals on how to do surgery, all these different survival guides, physics books, educational books, all sorts of stuff. I mean, it was a tremendous find, but I mean, it was an estate sale.
How to do brain surgery on yourself without anesthesia? I've seen some of that.
I saw that on Discovery. I know how to do that. that and how to repair a hernia with a soldering iron and a butter knife.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing about being a bookmonger is that when you try to move, that's the one thing I discovered that was the most difficult thing ever. Books are so damn heavy, and when you have 30 or 40 boxes of them, it's not fun.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. That's why I hope never to move again.
No.
I hope I stay.
Yeah, I had a, let me tell you something. I've moved like 6 times in the past 5 years or 4 years, 6 times in like the past 5 years. And I've gotten rid of a lot of crap, but I narrowed down, I had to clean down my book collection, so I narrowed it down to things that were important, and I got rid of books that were mindless fluff or stuff that I had and were not really important. So I donated. What I did was I just took that stuff down to the VA hospital and I gave it to them because they bring it upstairs to the terminal wing. So all the guys that are dying, they have nothing to do. They read, and I figured they'd want some humor. You know, if they're dying, what do you want to do? You know, did you guys know the New World Order controls the world? Well, thanks for telling me. I die in 3 days. You know, thanks for telling me now. Well, there's no point in it. So I donated all my humor books, my joke books, my dirty joke books. I gave them all to the vets. The old guys love the dirty joke books.
I would want to know.
Well, you know what? You might, but some of these guys, dude, you would be arguing with them and pissing them off.
I know.
You know, so it's not even. They'll figure it out when they get on the other side and they learn truth and wisdom and knowledge and wherever we go. So whatever. But I do give out DVDs when I go to the VA all the time. Those things go like hotcakes, man. Now they all know me because I've been doing it for so long now. I have guys come up to me, hey, you got any more movies? And I tell them, well, what one do you have? Because it depends on what I have on me. You know, what movie do you have? What did I give you? Oh, well, I saw you put it down on one of the tables, and I took it. But, well, what was the name of it? And they tell me, I'm like, oh, well, here, I got a couple more. Check these out. And then I'll see them like a month later. Oh, my God. And it's important. You might think that waking up old people is not important, but wrong. It's very important because they have a lot of sway and a lot of pull with a lot of people. It's important to wake up everybody, not just a certain demographic.
That's why the retirees scare the hell out of the politicians. There's so many of them, but they're so easy to be lied to. That's the big problem there.
They're extremely vulnerable, and it's just it's sad that they've been kind of boxed into a corner, but everybody has, and soon people will have nothing to lose, and they'll be like an animal caught in a corner with nothing else to do but attack.
Good. I agree. We're going to break, guys. Top of the hour break, ladies and gentlemen. We're back in a few. Stay tuned. Hour number 2. More intriguing roundtable talk here on the Orion Talk Radio Network.
The following program may contain subject matter and language that those with a weak constitution will find distasteful and offensive. You've been warned.
Come on, man. WTF.
Welcome back to WTF, ladies and gentlemen. It's hour number 2. I'm your host, Popeye. Well, I'm your host this evening. This isn't my regular show. We all take turns hosting it. Tonight I'm hosting it. Hanging out with my friend Ken Hildebrand. He's got a show here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Hanging out with Jules. She's co-host with Jimmy X over on Radio X. And super IT woman. very, very smart woman. She's a genius. She's the person responsible for the Flash player and all the other stuff on the website and the website itself. So thanks, Jules. And then we have the one, the only, the incredible Bob Tuskin.
And they say I don't talk about Zionism, Popeye. Well, I got news for them, Popeye. Tonight on the Bob Tuskin Show, we exposed Mossad's connection to the most recent bombing of an Iranian facility. This has now made mainstream news. According to a Time magazine source, it was a Mossad job. So l'chaim, Mossad. It's about time we got those goyim in Iran. And my Jewish fro, well, it's our secret weapon. Signing off, this is Zionist Bob. You schwatzes. Goyim.
You're going to be getting email about that for the next 3 weeks, Bob.
That was awesome.
He's got some interesting things going on right now. He came out of a hole in the ground. He was levitating. He had smoke billowing out around him. There was fire from underneath him. And he had lightning bolts coming out of his fingertips.
It was beautiful.
He's one of them, I tell you.
It's funny, as much as I take the time to look at all sides of the issue, look at this octopus, because, it has tentacles in Zionism, in the Vatican, on the reptilians. No, I added that one, not the reptilians. But you know what I mean. I cover all this stuff, and people have the nerve. They have the nerve. I get more messages about me being from a Jewish family and being...
You're Jewish?
I come from a Jewish family, Ken. Can you believe
know that?
No, it's true.
Now I can't talk to you, Bob. I didn't know you were a Jew either.
I had my bar mitzvah.
Ugh.
I didn't get one of them.
Well...
Neither did I, but
if it was up to me...
Neither side likes me, so...
If it was up to me, we'd have mandatory bar mitzvahs. Okay? Everybody would be circumcised.
You can even leave out the mitzvah. I would just like to go to the bar.
Well, that's typically what they're about. Oh, come on, Jules. We can get you a dreidel.
Oh, awesome.
All you got to do is just help us murder Palestinians.
I have a solution to the Middle East crisis over there. This manufactured piece of garbage. I know how we settle the whole darn thing. And all of these, the people in the military-industrial complex can make a lot of money at it. You take Iran and you sell them 600 nuclear-tipped missiles. And you sell 600 to Iraq and 600 to Saudi Arabia. That way it kind of balances everything out. Because we used to have a thing back when I was growing up. I know that's well before Popeye's time. Called Mutual Assured Destruction. Give them all nuclear weapons and say, go at it, boys. So you make the money from selling the weapons to them and all the weapon systems. And then when they kill each other, go in and take the oil. You don't have to. Why should we send troops over?
Well, if they dropped enough nukes on each other, they wouldn't just kill themselves. They would kill the entire planet, and everybody
They're
already
going to kill us anyhow. What's the difference?
Well, but the point is they know that. That's why they don't use nukes, because they understand what would happen and how uninhabitable this whole planet would be. Okay? What I really worry about is all these suitcase nukes that went missing when the Soviet Union fell, and now it's Russia, but when it was the USSR, they had all these suitcase-sized nukes. And they admit that these things went missing and that they don't know where some of them are, and it's impossible to get them. Now, I'm not worried about some Arab getting their hands on it and doing it. I'm worried about this rogue element inside the government. I'm worried that they have it and that they're going to light it off.
Can I tell you something? And I guess at the time I was kind of brainwashed and I didn't understand the whole big picture. But I used to do all this emergency preparedness stuff and take all these classes from Homeland Security and whatever. And do you know what they told us? And this is probably about 4 years ago now, that there are suitcase nukes in all of our big cities. And the way they got here was that they dressed up as Mexicans. The terrorists dressed up as Mexicans and walked them across the border. That's what they told us.
That is the most clever disguise. These suitcase nukes are probably at a Mexican restaurant near you, folks. If your Mexican restaurant owner appears to be a bit Jewish, that might be a sign. The biggest threat, Jules, with when it comes to nuclear weapons are the only countries that have dropped the nuclear weapons, which is the U.S., and its bitch, depending on which way you look at it, Israel. And, of course, Israel is the most provocative owner of nuclear weapons. They continue to test their weapons. They just came out with a new missile that could attack New York. That's how far it can take it. So they could theoretically drop a bomb on us. I mean, they attacked the USS Liberty. What makes us think that Israel wouldn't create some sort of false flag terror where they drop the nuke? Now, I don't think that's going to necessarily happen, but I do think it's fascinating to look at. And, of course, Pakistan, the Pakis have a nuke. And that seems to be a bit of a wild card.
Well, here, talking about nukes, here I want to dovetail into the next topic. Jules. You were telling me some really disturbing stuff off air tonight, and if all this stuff is accurate, like, we're really screwed. Yeah, what's going on with this nuke, the nuke plants all over the place, like, you know, having issues? You said something in Pakistan and going on.
Yeah, well,
what's going on?
Two things that Bob just talked about. One, Bob, I don't know if you saw when Fukushima first happened, but there were quite a few rumors floating around about Israel and the Mossad being involved in the Fukushima disaster.
There was an Israeli company that ran operations at that facility.
Right, they did the security, yeah.
Of course, Stuxnet, or however you pronounce that.
Stuxnet.
I can never pronounce it. What is it, Stuxnet?
Stuxnet, yeah.
Stuxnet, all right. Stuxnet was a program used, which was developed by the Mossad.
Yep.
So there seems to be all sorts of connections to Israel with this one. I don't know, Jules. Does that mean that this was fabricated by them, that they used the earthquakes and tsunamis to create this event? I don't know that we can necessarily say that, but there are all sorts of interesting connections here. And the fact of the matter is, regardless of whether or not the event was manufactured, we know that afterwards, they totally dropped the ball. Now, here's the question. Did they drop the ball on purpose? Do they not care that they're going to be putting cesium, plutonium, all these dangerous elements into our environment? It's pretty darn scary what's happening. Just like with and I'm going to let you take it back to some of the info you're going to share tonight about Fukushima. But another example and another parallel is the oil spill, which is still going on. Yeah. Still going on, just like Fukushima, still going on. Our planet's still dying, yet we're more concerned with a football coach.
So, Bob, what you're saying is if we go to a Mexican restaurant and our waiter has a yarmulke, we should be concerned?
No, because not all Jews wear a yarmulke. Here's what you do.
Okay.
Here's the test, okay? And don't tell anybody I told you this, because this is just between us. Here's what you got to do. You have... some change on you, right? Preferably nickels and pennies, right? And you take that change and you shake it in your hand. Now, if you see their ears perk up a little bit, that's the first step, okay? Now, I'm not going to continue this because I'm just going to get myself in trouble.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of emails.
Ladies and gentlemen, guest hosting non-conforming live tomorrow, Bob Tuskin.
I am the most self-hating Jew. No, I joke, and here's the other thing you got to do. You got to get the bagels, okay? 'Cause the bagels are the real...
Well, hold your bag of bagels right there, Bobby Bag of Donuts, because we're going to break. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WTF. And now, here's your lovely co-hostess, Jules, on some of the most Fukushima news in the planet. Go ahead, Jules.
That was awesome. Thank you. So we were talking about the Mossad and some of the nuclear issues that are going on in the Gulf, right? And you would ask the question as to whether or not this was intentional. My personal opinion is it has to be. How can it not be? Does anyone else agree with me? I mean, how can this be going on and nobody... I mean, if you remember when Fukushima first happened and Hillary Clinton right away got with the Japanese commerce minister and they decided that the Japanese economy was so important that we would do whatever it takes to help them maintain their economy. And you find out later that we had all kinds of money invested there, and so we had to make sure that their stock market stayed up because we were going to lose all kinds of funds, you know, that some of these fund managers had. But you find out later that they stopped testing for radiations. We're not really getting any real-time readings. Canada followed suit. I just see something yesterday now that Arnie Gunderson had talked about how he had friends at the State Department, and they are not testing any food that is coming from Japan. They're just telling us that it's safe. But
of course they don't want to test it because they know if they test it, of course it's going to test positive, and then they have to do something about it.
Right.
So what they do is they don't look at it, and it's called plausible deniability.
Do you remember when 3 Mile Island happened here in the U.S.?
I do, yes.
All right. I was working in an industry that worked with the nuclear industry at the time. They did everything wrong. All the guys that were in the control room, they did everything wrong. But all the safety systems still shut those power plants down. What happened at Fukushima?
Yeah.
Stuxnet.
Stuxnet, maybe. So, I don't know. But one thing I wanted to mention, and just to be aware of, there was an article that came out yesterday that... Are you guys still there?
Yeah, go on.
The edge of our...
Okay. Yes. There was an article that came out yesterday that said that Japan is shipping tea to Canada, and the tea is being labeled from Canada and being shipped here. Now, I don't know if that's true. I've stopped drinking and purchasing green tea for anything that happened after March 11th since this happened.
Is that the only tea? Because when you say tea, you weren't kind of specific. So is it just green tea, or is it all types of tea from Japan?
I do not know.
Well, it depends where the tea was grown. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get anything from Japan. But do you think it's just the tea, the green tea that's from Canada?
No, well, here's the thing. The tea plant, Popeye, I don't mean to interrupt, but the tea plant, from what I understand, is different than any other plant in that it absorbs all of the materials that may be in the soil, the nuclear particles. So it's particularly vulnerable, and that's why tea is often heavily prone with fluoride. There's tons of fluoride in the tea if you use fluoridated water or any fluoridated pest control.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that tea plants suck everything up, but that doesn't surprise me. I mean, most plants do suck things up and retain some stuff. So if it's if it's by nature, pulling more stuff in, anything that's in that groundwater is gonna.
Now, red tea.
Did you see?
They'll just label it power tea.
Well, wait. You want to see how sick these guys are? Did you see what they did with Disney World over there in Tokyo?
No, what?
Disney opened it up.
No.
Oh yeah, they've been open for business for like 2 months now, 3 months.
I mean,
what is it, down the street from Fukushima?
It's in Tokyo.
Tokyo has been getting irradiated heavy duty, and they said that there's no way it could have been. But
all those animals, all those Disney employees, everything. And Disney's got to know what's going on. For somebody to say, well, Disney doesn't know, horse crap. They're one of the 6 evil companies that owns the media. Don't tell me that crap that they don't know what's going on.
Well, reports coming in say that Japan is done.
Well,
that
Japan
whole country is just done.
I think we're done. I read something yesterday.
The left coast is done.
What was that?
Canada is done.
I said
why?
this whole planet is going to be.
Yeah,
We're killing the planet.
I mean, I saw something yesterday that
maybe not
reactors.
killing the planet, because the planet will come back. Look, the planet's been through much, much worse. Okay, people are not looking at this directly. We're not killing the planet. We're killing ourselves. Is what we're doing.
I know. I'm losing hair.
We might screw up nature a little bit and kill off some animals. Eventually, nature will replace them with other new species that'll spring up to replace that. Okay, that's the way it works. It's the way it always has. But us, we keep this up, we're going to wipe ourselves off the planet. That's
you were saying something, Jules. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's a theory that I have on this, Popeye. If you notice, there's a bunch of dots that have all happened since Fukushima. One is that all of a sudden our dead space program has now been rejuvenated, and there's all kinds of money being pumped in again for all these new probes, and let's go to Mars, let's go to the moon, we're going to build bases. I mean, there was a whole slew of articles about a month ago about we're sending all these ships up and we're going to start talking about building bases up there. Also, a company in Buffalo is now working on finishing the development. They're in human trials at Roswell Park for an anti-radiation medication that was financed by the Department of Defense. You also have all these companies now that are privatizing space travel. NASA's partnering up with them, you know, how we're going to get our rockets into space. And I'm just seeing some really big ugliness coming. Like, let's completely pollute this planet to the point where, you know, we'll get sick, they'll make money off of us through all the sicknesses and the medication and take us for every penny that we have left. They're all working on getting onto a spacecraft and leaving us rock. That's what I think. I mean, they're not going to be able to survive in bunkers forever. So they're going to take their anti-radiation pills until they can figure out how to build bases, and that's where they're going to send their offspring. That's just a theory. That's a theory.
It's funny that they, in some of the instances of table salt, you know, they want to take that off the table. But a lot of table salt is iodized. Iodinizes, you know what I'm talking about. It's got iodine in it. And iodine pills are supposed to be one of the things you take for radiation poisoning.
Only for iodine-131.
Yeah, but even still.
Plutonium and cesium, that's not going to help.
Well, if you put iodine naturally in your diet, you don't have to take the pills in an emergency situation. I mean, you still would want to probably anyway, just to be sure. But you really don't have to worry about it if you have natural, if you have a certain amount in your body.
I snort iodine, actually, guys.
But how many people don't have it naturally in their body?
But you can have it naturally in your body. Just
they're taking it off. They're taking it off the table.
But you don't have to listen. You don't have to rely on the restaurants. Take care of it yourself. Go over to Whole Foods. You can. It's like $7 or $8.
Right, but you got to watch what kind of salt you buy.
No, not salt. Ken, listen. You don't have to even do that. Just go buy.
You got to snort the good salt.
Just listen. Seriously, just go buy kelp over at. Or you can buy liquid iodine drops over there too. Okay, and you can drop it into your coffee and just drink it. It's not that expensive. Go over to. I'm talking about iodine.
I know. Well, betadine has iodine in it, though.
I know, but you can just take either one. But you can also get kelp and just take the kelp like vitamins, and you build it up in your body slowly. Okay, and then you don't have to worry about it. Because the way that gets into your body is you lack that iodine. So what happens is your body absorbs it, and now you have the radioactive iodine in you, and you're screwed forever. If you really have,
you got to be careful.
You don't have all of this suntan lotion that they got out there. When I was a kid,
it's poison.
My grandmother used to take a couple of drops of iodine and put it in baby oil, and that's what we used to use for suntan lotion.
Well, the suntan lotion is poison.
Filled with titanium oxide and all this other
stuff. It's nano-sized too, Popeye.
Yeah, it's done on purpose. Yes. You know what? Let's get into. I want to get into that because that's actually something really interesting. That is a WTF thing. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, man.
We're going to break, guys. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
I go out naked and get in the sun all the time. You have to be naked if you want.
Vitamin D. Vitamin
D, baby.
Oh gosh, guys. It's swell to be with you all.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to What the... Today we're a little more serious.
We are very serious.
But there are serious WTF moments, so that's what happens when you have a roundtable discussion with random people.
I resent that. Our table is not round. It's square. It's a square table.
Well, okay, a square table. And Bob's sitting at the children's side.
The only thing that is round is my afro.
Well, yeah, your ego's not round. Your ego's just all-encompassing.
Too big.
Jules, what's going on with the Russians? They're all fried into space, and they can't even get a satellite into space. Now, what's coming back down onto Earth? What do we have to look forward to raining back down onto us now?
Yeah, Russia has been having a couple launch failures over the last, few months. But they launched their Mars moon mission last week, and it was, big fanfare. And what happened was, apparently the rocket boosters didn't fire once it was leaving our orbit, and now it's stuck in a degrading orbit coming back down. And they spent the last 2 days trying to get control of this thing, and now it's run out of battery power.
Oh, so that's just awesome.
Yeah.
Wait.
And it is on a death fall.
How come it doesn't have enough battery power? Did they not think of this? Did they not sit back and go, well, this could happen, so let's make sure we have a backup plan?
Yeah. The rabbit died and it's going to land in Miami.
I mean, this is like the third falling object in 3 months.
Yeah, but
that was huge.
What's the deal with, you spend, I'm sure, probably... how many millions of dollars? A couple $100 million to build and put this thing into space, at least, right? And then now you're saying, what's NASA doing? They're going to launch a Mars probe, and in this Mars probe, I'm going to say this, but then I got something else I want to add to this. In this Mars probe, I guess we're launching one, the U.S., and it's going to have plutonium as fuel. Isn't it interesting that we're launching one, and Russia was just launching one, and theirs failed? It kind of makes you wonder if their stuff was sabotaged in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I'm not saying it was. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy out there. I'm just saying it would be. It does make for interesting thinking to look at that. Now, Jules, what's this plutonium fuel deal? What's the deal with this? You're telling me they're not going to use the solid rocket boosters?
No,
and stuff?
They're not.
What are they using now?
They're using plutonium. Well, 1 second, back to the Russian one. So because the Russian rocket did not make it the distance it was supposed to, it is loaded, fully loaded with dimethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. They're dubbing it as the most dangerous, toxic falling spacecraft ever. So, and it has radioactive cobalt-65 in it, too.
Oh, that's lovely.
So this is coming down anywhere from November 26th, which I believe is Thanksgiving. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Where?
And early December.
The 26th is
25th, maybe. Is it the Friday?
Well, that's the 2 days, the Friday and the Saturday, right after Thanksgiving.
Right.
But where do they say it's going to land, or are they pulling the same crap with the satellite?
We won't know until 2 hours before. Yep.
That's awesome. So thanks for giving everybody some idea to maybe prevent exposure. Thank you.
Well, what's scary about it is they said it was going between the latitudes of 51.4 degrees north and 51.4 degrees south, which is the world's the largest population in the world lives within that zone, and it could come down anywhere. So I think this is pretty horrifying. But then, so I see the next
Could that
day
be more evidence that this could be sabotage? That it just so happens to be coming down in the world's most populated area? Part of the New World's Order depopulation agenda?
Could be. I mean, they're taking us out left and right between the radiation and now falling objects, and, falling objects that are going to be spraying toxic aerosols everywhere. But so the next day I see an article saying that NASA is launching their new Mars rover, and it's going to be fueled with plutonium. And there's only a very small, 1 in 420 chance that there'll be some sort of plutonium release during this launch. But, I mean, they're launching it in Florida, laden with plutonium. I thought we weren't ever going to do that because of the dangers.
Christopher Everard did a movie called Secret Space and Secret Space 2, where he talked about the secret space programs that they have going on. But when he was talking about this whole very subject, he was explaining that a lot of these satellites have plutonium cores. And that's how they power them. And I forget what it was. We did a special around 9/11, and him and I talked about this over on Truth Frequency. But what was it? It was something like 1 pound or 2 pounds of plutonium coming into the Earth's atmosphere would kill everything on the planet. Like if it was like 2 pounds spread out throughout the entire atmosphere of the planet would kill every living thing.
Yeah.
And
so
these
think
things,
about
these satellites have like 20 or 30. Sometimes, most of the time it's like 8 or 10 pounds. Sometimes it's maybe 20 pounds, depending on how big the satellite is. Even more, So who knows how many pounds, or how many hundreds of pounds? Because I don't know if you've ever looked at a picture of how many satellites are out there. Okay, so think about how much plutonium is just circling the Earth. It's death just waiting.
We've had like 6,000 plutonium rods burn up already in Japan, vaporized into the atmosphere, and a plutonium refinery, reprocessing plant for spent rods also burned up during the earthquake and tsunami. All of that is in our atmosphere already, and it only takes a few grains in your lungs for lung cancer. So, we all look for when the doom is going to come, and we're watching the slow downward spiral. But sometimes when I look at this, I'm like, wow, we're preparing and we're waiting for this to happen. But I think it's already kind of happened. It's just happened in slow motion.
Well, it's not good, any of it, and we need to, we really need to get on top of stuff and handle business and take care of things, because this is not good. And I
think we should occupy the satellite.
Well, seriously, with the disasters, the nuke disasters, and then the BP oil spill, even if they weren't done on purpose, the responses were done on purpose. The lack of response has been done on purpose. The lies and the cover-ups have been done on purpose.
Well, if they kill all the sheep, they can go out and cut their own damn grass.
Well, they're not going to really care about that. That's why they have things like the neutron bomb, Ken. They've looked into things like that, so it would kill all, humans in the area, but leave the infrastructure so that they don't have to worry about, the roads.
But who's going to fix their stuff? Who's going to cut their grass?
They want to leave 500 million of us.
Yeah, I know what they want to leave, but the point being is the way they screw things up, there ain't going to be 500 million.
Of course. I'm not saying that their plan is foolproof and it's going to work. But it's almost like the plot of some cheesy B movie where you have a mad scientist and he's like, I'm going to destroy the world. And then things get out of control and his assistant is like, Master, look what you've done. You're going to destroy the planet. And then Superman and the Super Friends have to come in or whatever and, save everything, or Flash Gordon. That's where it's going, except we don't have this superhero. But we do have the crazy, psychotic mad scientists.
We have Obama.
Yeah, he's part of the problem. He's really part of the problem.
I'll tell you what else.
Guys. Jules, I got to cut you guys off because we're going to get cut off by the break.
We are?
Well,
no, we're not. That's Bob.
I think that's Bob playing.
Bob playing?
Yeah, that was
Well, I hear music coming up, and it's around the time for the break, and I was like, what the hell?
I was going to segue into nanotech through that with mad science, because there is a lot of mad science going on between, making these nanobots and, injectable nanobots to go cure you.
Well,
and
Bob was talking about that with the sunscreen, too, that it's
size particles.
It's manufactured. Those things are made at a specific level to get through your skin, right? Isn't that why they're so small?
Yeah.
So it gets into your
blood.
They
do the same thing with the chemtrails. They nanosize the aluminum, barium.
Well, that's why it looks like the spider webs in midair, and it spreads out the way it does.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, you want to do a test? Okay, just put something outside.
No, I don't.